Hey folks, hacking this and that, back again with another video on sensors. Over the last week or two, I've been helping another number of people try to diagnose things not working with their sensors. First thing I want to do is say, with the current state of the network, and we are near the end of June, we're still in the transition to light hotspots. The blockchain, the muxing, all of that stuff is still being worked on. One thing that people seem to have forgotten is while we are in a state where syncing to the chain is not significant in regards to proof of coverage, it is significant in the way that your hotspot passes data to the console and router. If your router is not if your hotspot is not near the top of the chain, it doesn't know the current state of the state channels, and that can cause undeliverable packets. So, as for your hotspot, keep them up to date. Keep up with or let me rephrase that. Keep patient with the dev team as we continue to work through this. It's an important transition. It needs to happen. The network was going to collapse on the peer-to-peer, and this had to happen. And yes, it hasn't gone smoothly, but we will get there. So, outside of the state of a hotspot, what can you do when your sensor doesn't seem to be working right? So, I'm actually going to deal with this particular sensor, and I'm going to work backwards from my dashboard. So here's how this works. In Datacake, and your tool may be different, there is this Debug tab. This is very useful information. It's important to know. So why do things look weird, or even better, why does console say that there was an integration error? So the LHT65s will send their temperature, humidity, probe, and battery. Additionally, the default configuration includes the LoRa SNR, the LoRa RSSI, and lo and behold, a second LoRa RSSI. What is this, and why does it not have a number in it, but actually a string? For those that don't know, that string value, SF10BW125, actually stands for Spreading Factor 10 Bandwidth 125. That is the way that this particular device attempted to communicate with the network signal strength bandwidth. That's essentially what it is. So this, while obviously accepted at the time by Datacake, is an invalid value. It will periodically, here it is right here, received an invalid value for LoRa RSSI, expected a float. Like I said, it wants a number. RSSI is a number. This is actually sorry guys at Datacake, I will blame them for it. It's their debugger or their decoder that is having that issue. However, assuming we're having some other issue and we're trying to debug it, this is where you want to start. So we know that the data, we want to get the data coming into Datacake looking good, and let's say battery value was 0. Obviously, if it transmitted, the battery wasn't 0, but it's not getting decoded properly. So if things were looking good here, I would then go back to console. And console also has a debugger, but what you want to look at is this uplink. If there's a failure to send data to the integration, it will put a little 2 red arrows telling you that something failed. And you just need to expand a data point and look at integration message, and it will tell you that there was a problem sending to the integration on Datacake. Another thing you can do is use the debugger built right into console. This is great information, and if I activate this, I can force a new packet. Great information here. Dig right into these. It'll hide certain information. It doesn't display everything, so make sure you're turning all of these on so that you can see all of the information being sent between console and your integration. What else can we do? What if all I'm seeing is join requests? This is, I'm going to say, becoming a regular question that I see on Discord, usually because I'm looking for them, not because there's something massively wrong. A couple of things can occur with that. The first is if the battery in the device is too low and cannot sustain a session for a uplink, downlink, and an acknowledgement, that can be part of the problem. On the wrong frequency. The other thing that you may not have noticed when you were setting up your device, but it is listed here, is the activation mode. These can also be ABR? I forget what the other mode is. We don't use it. That can be a problem. So the configuration of the device may be invalid for use on Helium. If you've moved devices between the Thing network and Helium, make sure you are resetting the config and getting things set up to work properly on this network. The other thing you might need are a couple of tools. This is a DSD Tech TTL adapter, USB on one side, pinout on the other. This is like an old serial debugger, essentially. Depending on whether you're running on Windows or Mac, I'll let you figure out which tool to use. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. Putty is a great one if you're on Windows. This and the associated, I think I didn't bring it down with me because this is a temperature probe, which is not going to help. Actually, I think I have one. Had one. Have one? Maybe. No. No, I did take that one upstairs. Anyway, there's a picture of it in the Dragino tab that I kept open. No. There. So, on the back side is the push pin. I kind of have it covered with Velcro. That, like many smartwatches, sort of magnetic adapter holds the charger to the device. Connect this to your TTL adapter and connect with Putty. There are a couple of things you can do in here to sort of jumpstart. The first is with the Draginos, the command is AT plus CFG, and that prints out the entire config. Everything you need to know about what this device is trying to do when it's communicating on the network will be in that output. You're looking to make sure that the mode is OTAA. Remember that back here on console. The ADR, adaptive data rate, is, in this particular device, set to 0 so that it's on. It will accept ADR commands. Any other value is trying to force a specific data rate. What else can you do to debug these? So there's that CFG command. TDC, that's your, covered that before, that's your data interval. That's not going to help. You can double check, there we go, your app EUI and your app key. Maybe the sticker that was inside the box, I still have one right here, so make sure you don't steal my sticker. Maybe that was on the wrong box. Humans put them on, which means humans make errors. Confirm your app EUI, app key, app secret from what is on your sticker, from what's inside your device. What else can you do in here? Probably one of my favorite commands, and may not be available on all devices. Oh, look at that, I don't even think it's documented. AT plus debug will send everything that the device is doing. If you just hook it up, it'll output the, hey, I tried to send an uplink, I received a downlink, I received another downlink, and it just cycles through that. If you're into computer programming, this is the print to console function of the code on here. Debug will give you all the raw information. Other thing that you may want to double check is the join sending information. So all of these 4.1 to 4.9, this is if your device is failing to connect to the network, this is where you're going to see the information. Print last received data in raw format. So it's uplinked, or sorry, it sent a join command. It was expecting a response. See what that response was. The data rate I talked about, the lower class. The Helium network currently supports Class A. If your device is attempting to do Class C, it's going to have problems. There's that data rate I talked about. Make sure it's on 0. Again, this is all specific to these sensors. I use a lot of them, so it's what I'm very familiar with. If you need help with a different sensor, please reach out to me. I will find the manual. I will dig through it and figure out how to help get that set up. The other thing is, I guess we're down into actual utilization. Oh, transmit power, probably another thing you want to check. That's probably enough to get you started. Last but not least, I've covered this before, and I thank the team at Dragino for helping me with this and walking me through this particular problem and debugging it. Most of these devices are likely going to be shipped out with a firmware of 1.83 or lower, maybe 1.85. Anyway, not 1.9. If you get one of the new 65Ns, these are supposed to be 1.9. It's worth checking. Don't assume. And that in and of itself was part of the reason why I was seeing lost packets. So go back and check my earlier videos if you want to know how to resolve lost packet issues. How do you flash a new firmware? This is going to be one of those things where you're going to like, oh crap. So the ST-Link V2 is the tool to use. All other devices, if it is not this, will fail. Do not attempt to bother wasting your money. I have one I can show you. I bought it. I tried it. Again, may have moved it to the garage because it was one of those I'll probably never use this again thing. Anyway, this is the one you need. It is the only one that works. Then you need the ST-Link software and the firmware file, and it literally takes seconds to flash a new firmware on these things, please make sure you're using the right region. They are pre-configured for US 915, EU 868, etc. These devices themselves are not restricted. It's just the firmware that's on them. So, all that to say, we've worked all the way back to from Datacake all the way back to our sensor. Hopefully, I've given you enough places to check, things to poke, knobs to turn, buttons to switch to get your device working. They are pretty simple in the fact that they should just work, but that doesn't mean you won't have problems. If you continue to have problems beyond that, reach out to me. I'm happy to help anybody who's trying to get through sensor onboarding, that kind of stuff. And if I can't figure it out, I have contacts in the industry with manufacturers that I've come to know and trust on how to get in touch with the right people. Maybe you do have a defective unit. It's all very reasonably possible. Maybe the antenna didn't get soldered on properly, etc., etc. So that's sensor debugging. I hope that was helpful. Again, if it's not a Dragino sensor, don't feel that you can't reach out to me. I will do some research for you and help you figure out your next steps. And with that, stay tuned to the network. As I said, we're in late June right now. Light hotspot transition has been a roller coaster, speed bump, whatever you want to call it. It was meant to go smoothly. It's not. We can't go back. We're pushing forward. And while we continue to do that, we need to be thinking big picture of how are we going to be using the network. So if you need business ideas on what to do with sensors, check out one of my other videos. And until then, have an awesome day.